The scouting report on Cooper Johnson is pretty simple. Very strong defensively. Just as I say that on cue, this one lined up to left center field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is gone! Solo shot for Cooper Johnson. Makes it a 3-1 game, Whitecaps, here in the bottom of the fourth. Ben Como out for another inning of work. First pitch fastball just off the outside, part of the plate, 1-0. Danny Reyes had a great game last night. Big 2 RBI double to start the game off. Next pitch, left side, diving stop by the third baseman Skender. Up to his feet, throw to first in time for out number 1. Now Ethan Skender showing off the leather. Big play, 1 down for Dayton Dugas. First pitch on the way. Breaking ball swung on, back up the middle. It is into the gap. Meadows home to score. Dugas around first, checks second. Little fist bump at first base, and it's a 4-2 Caps lead. Next pitch on the way. Smoke right back up the middle. Base hit. Andre Lipsins. 1 scores. Green around third on his way home. He'll score as the Caps push out ahead. 3-2 here in the bottom of the 5th.
Thanks, Dan. Down on the field here with Dayton Dugas. 2 for 3 with a run tonight. What was clicking for you at the plate?
Oh, nothing, man. I've been hitting the ball well, but just not finding holes. So just staying persistent, staying consistent in my approach, and knowing those balls are going to fall at some point.
What has been improving about your game? You just said you've been hitting a lot better. What has been improving over the season?
Just an approach, just having a solid approach. It's a long season, day in and day out, just trying to stay focused, which is the main thing. It's hard to stay focused in this long season, and so if you can do that, you'll be successful.
Ryan Weathers is a pretty successful pitcher, number 7 prospect in the Rays, or not in the Rays, the Padres organization. What was he delivering to you? What did you see out of him?
That first at bat, he threw me 1 heater that I thought was in. They called it for a strike on my first pitch, kind of got me in a little hole that I didn't like. Threw me 2 really good sliders right after Danny hit a double, so I think he kind of locked it in on the mound, made some good pitches and got me out. But that next AB, I knew he was going to go back to that slider because that's what I swung at, and threw it for a ball, and then I was geared up for a heater. He likes his heater, he throws it well, and put a good swing on it and got a good result.
Was he giving you a lot of fastballs, or what was he giving you?
He was giving me mostly sliders, but when I got the fastball, I took advantage of it, and then that was the last time I saw him, so I was happy I got to do that.
Took the turn for 3 at second there back in the earlier innings. That was a close play. Did you think you had the base, like coming out of second base, or did you know it was going to be a close play?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I hit a ball well, I always run hard, even if it's a home run or not. That was the first time I started jogging, and the ball didn't go out, so I had to turn it on, and I figured I could get 3. I started running hard. I thought I had it. And I got in there. It was a close play, but Emma over there made a good call, and I was safe.
Did you keep your head up looking for Lance, or did you just decide around second you were going?
I didn't look for Lance. I was running. I was running hard, and I knew he'd be happy either way. You know, he likes being aggressive, and so it's all good.
I want to take you back to pregame really quick. You guys were tossing the football around out here in right field. Is that a new way just for you guys to keep loose and warm up or something, or what is that?
Absolutely. We're always looking for ways to stay loose and keep things loose in the clubhouse and out here. So yeah, just anything we can do that's not baseball related helps when baseball starts. So.
Speaking of which, did you hear Andrew Luck retired from football?
Man, did we ever? Joe, our catching coordinator's here, and he had somebody drafting his team back home, and he told him take Luck on my first pick, and then
So you have him on your fantasy team?
Man, no, Joe, our catching coordinator does. So the whole game, he was so mad in here that he has Luck, and then he also has Lamar Miller, who was carted off with a knee injury, so he's not happy about his fantasy draft right now. Yeah.
That's rough. Dayton Dugas, thanks for joining us. Dan, back to you. Welcome back on the Whitecaps pregame show on this Tiger Wednesday, as we have a special guest joining us today, Jason Grilli. Jason, first of all, welcome to West Michigan.
Hey, thanks, man. It's beautiful up here, and what a ballpark.
It is a beautiful ballpark. I wanted to start with your playing career a little bit. 2005 to 2008 as a Detroit Tiger. You were part of the 2006 AL pennant winning team. What's something that you miss about playing for Detroit, a memory that you hold on to?
You know, it was fun just resurfacing, you know, chasing my dad's footsteps and playing with some of the coaches. The coaches were the guys that were my dad's teammates. So wearing his number, 49, playing, rubbing shoulders with just some of the great players that were on that team. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome to see a city that was starved for a championship team, to see stands kind of fill up. You know, from April to about, mid-May, we realized that for those first 45 games, you realize what kind of team you are. And once we knew we were pretty good, it was fun to watch how people started filling the seats again.
You mentioned you played with some special players on that team. Jeremy Bonderman, Justin Verlander, Joel Zumaya, a young Andrew Miller. What was it like pitching alongside some of those great arms?
Well, Joe Zumaya was my throwing partner, so I got to break in my gloves real quick if I wanted a new one. He actually made my arm stronger because the kid could huck it. His career ended too short, but just even with Kenny Rogers, I talked to him, and it was fun because getting a veteran's perspective. I always talked to him. I said about being a relief pitcher. He was a relief pitcher that became a starter, and my kind of career was going the opposite direction. So he was awesome to lean on and talk shop with. I really enjoyed having him in our corner because it wasn't just bullpen versus starters. It was like we all hung out. It was a tight team. We were hanging out, and Todd Jones had a suite, and we were always eating in there, playing video games, cards, playing guitar. We enjoyed hanging out together as a team. And I said, that's a true thing that I think is missing sometimes nowadays is guys kind of separate and stay to themselves a little bit too much. From the beginning of my career towards the end of it, it was interesting to see how the sociology of a team kind of evolved and what kept a good team together. So it's always about hanging out. We're sitting here telling all these war stories, and I said it's never really about a particular game. It's about all the other shenanigans that kind of go on that keeps you loose and gets you through a 162-plus game season.
Right. And to play under Jim Leland, we had Placido Polanco on the broadcast last year, and he was full of stories. I mean, we could have kept him on the entire game about Jim. What's something you take away from playing under him for those 3 years?
He would get us fired up, and he'd have us crying. I mean, he was a very emotional manager, and he knew how to get the most out of the team. There was something about how he could command the room, and, being just of his little stature that he had, he boistered that command, and no one wanted to let him down. He demanded that of you and expected that of you, and he kept us. I think he was a big reason, especially after we dropped those 3 games at Kansas City. Mm-hmm. We had to pack our bags because we had needed to win one game to not only win our division, but to be in a higher seed in the playoffs, and we wound up being that wild card. So for him to get us pumped up again after that was such a letdown of not spraying champagne just in winning our division championship. He got us to say, hey, man, we got to go to New York. And he's like, we got to go through those guys anyways. So to be able to go there first and foremost and rally after getting swept by the Kansas City Royals, that just kind of shows you the character and the respect that we had as a team for each other. We played for each other. We also played real hard for a manager that led us there.
We're talking with Jason Grilli. As you look out tonight, you spent 3 parts of 4 years in the minor leagues. As you look at some of these guys who are working their way up to the major leagues, what's your biggest piece of advice to some of these guys if you were to talk to them one-on-one?
Hang on for the ride, man, because, the highs are the highs, the lows are the lows. You got to stay right in the middle, as they say, and it's hard. It's even harder now, I feel, watching the competition. I'm looking at the size of these guys, and I'm going like, these guys are right out of high school and college, and they're huge. They're stronger, they're faster, they're bigger. These guys, the game's evolving, and, to see the demands of the speed of the game continuing to go up, it's incredible. So I think it's just, staying healthy, picking your spots to go have a good time and stay loose off the field. I think people don't realize how important that is and the sacrifice that it takes to get there. You just got to stay loose. You can't be just ballpark to your hotel or your apartment. You got to go out and enjoy each other. Like I said, playing for each other. That means hanging out, picking a guy up. There's a lot of stuff that off the field guys are dealing with, family stuff and personal stuff. And, you got to come in here and in between the white lines and really focus and lock down. And it's hard sometimes. And, a guy could be 0 for 3 or giving up winning home runs. And, his head's really not in it, not because he's not in the game. It's just the subconscious mind takes over sometimes. And you got to trick yourself to put that all out, So I think that's really something that advice, you got to find a guy on the team to just say, hey man, pick me up, kick me in the ass when you need to.
Yeah, right. Your dad, Steve, played for the Tigers mid-'70s. He actually, Lance Parrish, was the first catcher to catch for him for the Detroit Tigers when he got his first appearance. How special of a moment was that when you finally got the call from Detroit to play for the Tigers?
It was awesome. It was a little bit of a heartache because in 2005 I was the last cut in camp, and Dimitri Young was quite pissed off that I wasn't going with them up north. But I knew we were going to have a great team in Toledo. We won the championship in 05. I don't say the mud hens. I call us the mud chickens. We had a good time and good friends. And honestly, that team, when I talk about like how we hung out and how much fun we had, we did a lot of fun stuff together. Great group of guys, and a lot of those guys, after we won that championship in AAA, we got a call up, and it was interesting to see because those guys were really instrumental in, like I said, being a part of the 06 team. So we made what we said, being selfish, we wanted to be in a big league situation, but if we have to make the most of a little bit of a letdown playing AAA baseball, we said, well, let's then win the whole thing and prove to them that we should be there. So that's what we did, and it was just like, again, every game is practice for what you want to get to in playoffs. To play in playoff baseball, the regular season is practice to play in the postseason, and how do you prepare for that? So there's short-term goals, there's long-term goals, there's pre-game, in-game, post-game stuff that you go through. I think people don't realize, and some guys will learn to realize, that that's the stuff that is demanding and more tiring than the game itself.
Alrighty. Jason, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, brother.
Cool. We'll be right back here on the Whitecaps Baseball Network.